Okay, so here we are in my dev environment. I'm going to start by downloading Visual Studio. So I'm just going to search Visual Studio download. There it is. Go to download. So here you've got different versions: Community, Professional, Enterprise. You've also got Visual Studio Code. I highly recommend Visual Studio Code as a tool, but it's really just a text editor. It does have things you can use for compilers and you know, debuggers and stuff like that, but really that's what Visual Studio is for, and it is also free. I would start with the Community Edition. It's a full version of the Visual Studio product. It's free, and you know, as long as you're not doing anything that's licensed, you can use it. You can also download multiple versions, so you can have Community, Professional. You can get old versions of Visual Studio. So here you see is Visual Studio 2022, and you can say, I want an old version. You can say other, older downloads. So you can click this, you can go there, and it'll take you to 2019, you know, that kind of stuff. So you can download Visual Studio 2019, 2017. So if you've got some kind of operational need for older versions, you can download and install those. Let's just start with Visual Studio 2022 and wait for that to download. Now, this actually downloads a setup file. Then you choose what you want as part of your packages for download. So it's getting the Visual Studio installer. And if you already have Visual Studio on your computer, if your installer is up to date, this part will be skipped. So if you're getting an old version or something like that. So now you choose what you want. So you want ASP.NET Web Development, probably so. This includes core and everything you need as far as that goes. So let's look over here. We want always, you know, you're probably going to have an operational need for older frameworks, so always install those. A lot of this other stuff, if you need it, you can always open this up again. It's part of Visual Studio. You can open it up and do more, add more things. So I'm just going to add that for now. There's nothing really. I mean, you can add whatever you like when you download this and install it. There's actually gaming stuff, gaming development stuff. So I know a lot of people like developing that kind of stuff. But there's not a whole lot we need here. We'll probably go into Python and some other videos later on, and maybe some Azure and Node.js stuff. Obviously, these are some of the most common ones. We'll also do desktop development, so we'll do that too. So these two things, so this allows you to do programs that run on the computer, open up a little windows, have icons, that kind of stuff. This allows you to do websites and quite a few other things, but and there's a lot of overlap between them. You'll see here SQL Server Express 2019 local DB is installed. We'll get to that in another video. So we'll wait for this to download, and then we'll get to the installation part in a few minutes. Okay, so that's done. It looks like that took about 11 minutes total. So just be forewarned, it actually will take some time. You can say no account, not now, maybe later, as far as signing in goes. I don't see a reason why I shouldn't sign in. And I'm going to sign in with a personal account. Let's see if that works at all. Okay. So it's going to work. Two-factor authentication. Highly recommend two-factor authentication wherever you can get it. Okay. So now it's logging me in. Okay. So one thing I'll tell you is because I logged in with an account that I've logged in with before, it already knows I like the dark profile. So just let you know. Oh, maybe it doesn't. Who knows? Anyway, so the first thing we want to do, we're here. We're ready to go. We can continue without code. It'll just open the editor itself without anything, but then you'll be creating or opening something anyway. Let's create a new project or solution. Create a new project. And then what we want to do is we just want to do a quick hello world console app, right? You can do one in .NET Core, or you can do one in .NET Framework. Kind of hard to explain, but .NET Core is something that you can containerize and run in Docker on any type of server, any type of computer whatsoever. Dockers are basically an abstraction, a virtualization at an app layer. So you virtualize the environment around the app, and then there's a translator that'll translate it into machine language for that computer, you know, that server or whatever. That's what Core is about, and they're really pushing Core right now. But I'm going to create one in .NET Framework console app. Console app .NET Framework. No particular reason, but with these videos, you know, and operationally speaking, you might need to be in one environment or another. They are not very portable. I mean, you know, I would say they're pretty portable, but you can't just compile one into the other and things like that. You would have to recreate the classes and any differences in either the language or the libraries that are used and things like that. Like when I do stuff on my Mac, I try to do it in Core, and a lot of times it's not portable between Framework and Core. So just letting you know, you want to probably choose your environment, and that's what you're sticking with for this project. So console app, we're going to call this Hello World. Automatically, it's going to choose a framework that makes sense to it. Doesn't matter which one you use for now. Again, operationally, you may need to do one in particular. So we're going to create. And you'll notice what this does is it creates a console app with a program.cs file, and that is what is run when you click the play button. And the play button is your debug button. It runs it in debug mode. So there's program.cs, right? So I'm just going to say console.writeline hello world. And it's that simple. And I want to wait for some kind of input so it doesn't just pop up on the screen and go away. So I'm going to read anything, a line. So somebody can type anything they want and press return. And that's it. That's the program, right? This is pretty easy. Hello world. Click the play button up at top, and you're actually debugging it. And we'll get into that in just a second here. So now there's a question of how do you like your environment to look and things like that. These diagnostic tools are helpful when you're doing something really complicated, but I like to drag them over here and use them only when I need them. Another thing is all of this stuff, I like it in one tab. And then one other thing is I'll show you here is that you can put stuff on the left as well. There's toolboxes. If you go here and say view, one thing that's always helpful is the SQL Server Object Explorer, for example. It's going to automatically connect to your, and notice that it popped it up over here. I want that to be on the left side. So I want it over here. And do I want it completely on the left side, or do I want it on the left side of this panel? I think I like this. So there's a couple different layouts. So you have to choose your layout, you know, at whatever point. This is my layout while I am debugging. When I press stop, things will go away. So anyway, you can see here, there's your local DB. And in the next video, we'll explain a little bit about the difference between local DB, which is a SQL Server Express instance, versus SQL Server full version, and upsides, downsides, what to use, things like that. When you're just developing, there's no reason you shouldn't use local DB, but we'll get into that. And then finally, let's see, I got a list of things I want to cover in this video. So a download, install with options, opening, creating the console app, show local DB, and show debugging. So let's show a little bit about debugging. So let's say I've got option or things I want to say. So int x equals 5. I want to say hello world. Let's read in an x. So we'll say string new x equals console.readline, right? So now what do we want to do with that x? We want to set it equal to the x, and then we want to print it out. That's what we want to do, right? So we will verify that it's actually an integer. So if int dot try parse out x. So there's a lot of autocomplete stuff that is new in Visual Studio 2022. It obviously figured out this is what I wanted to do, which is pretty interesting. And if you just tab, it'll do like each part of it. So if the integer parses out and say console dot read write line x is now plus x dot toString. Else, I tell them console dot write line, you did not enter a number. Okay. If it's just a single command, you don't need braces. So let's just try the program first. So we're debugging the program, but we don't have any breakpoints, so we're not really looking at anything. Hello world. So I type in a D. Oh, and at the end I should read another line. D. You did not enter a number. It's that simple, right? So run again. 7. X is now 7. That's simple. So how do I know that X was still 5 here? I could print it out and say it's still 5, but I could also just debug it, right? So what I'll do is I'll put a breakpoint here. So if you just scroll over to the left in the left column there, you can put a breakpoint. So now go through and I'll say 7. Now what happened? X is now 7. And sure enough, X is 7. So prior to this, so let's go back up to, so you can drag the line around, right? But now X is 7, it's too late, right? So X is still 7 because I set it, right? But now if I play, it's waiting for another one. So now I can say 6 because I put the breakpoint on here. So it's actually executing this again. So X is still 7, new X is 6. Now when I go past, X is now 6. That's what it'll print out. You can also manipulate the values, which is actually pretty nice, right? So if I go here, it does automatic watches for you. You can watch certain variables. So you may have a variable way up in the program and you want to watch the value of it as it changes throughout. It'll try to auto guess what you might need. So let's do D, right? So new X is D. If I go here and I go here, it's going to go down to the you did not enter a number. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. I go back up here and I say new X instead is 7. Right? I tab off of it. Now it's 7. I've set it. So you see down at the bottom, you've got the autos. This is the values that it thinks you might need, but you can add watches. So I might want to add a watch to new X. So you right click on it and you just say add watch. It actually adds it to here permanently. And when it's out of scope, when there is no new X within the scope you're currently in a breakpoint of, it just says not in scope. So now it actually printed out rather than going to this you did not enter a number, even though on the screen it looks like I put in a D, right? So that's the quick tour. And like I said, you've got different things you can look at here on the left. These will make more sense. So I'm going to say here, view SQL Server Object Explorer. Remember, I told you that I was viewing it in the debug. So every time I debug, this will be over here. Now, every time I'm not in debug, it'll also be over here. There's like 4 or 5 different views. There's debugging, building, all these different views of the dev environment. So that's the quick tour. And next video, we're going to talk more about SQL Server, and then we'll bring it together back here again. We're going to look at the SQL Server that we install as opposed to SQL Server Express. That's it.